Welcome back to another episode of the Henry Polai Does Music Things unofficial, basically official podcast title. This is freaking season 1, episode 7, and in like 5 days, me as a 16-year-old in the public education system, I'm taking the ACT. So that is freaking lovely. Last episode got freaking 206 views. No, not 26 views. You heard me correctly. 206. This is of the last time I checked this. 206 views. That is remarkable for having 11 subscribers. I have no idea what happened. And if you are coming to this podcast from my Teddy P story, that is my Instagram account, well then I would love if you could subscribe to this YouTube channel, because a lot more happens on this YouTube channel outside of this podcast. I just happen to advertise this podcast on my Teddy P YouTube channel. And if you are not freaking subscribed to the Teddy P YouTube channel and you think it'd be kind of cool, well, go ahead. If you like music, why not, I guess, you know. During the past 2 weeks, the music world there's been a lot. I try and record this podcast every 2 weeks, and things have definitely happened the next 2 weeks. And, you know, I don't really want to beat around the bush too long because people are gone. First, Chick Corea. If you don't know who Chick Corea is, he's a jazz pianist, and he is an absolute legend. Like, very much literally, he is a legend. He played with Miles Davis. He, created jazz fusion. Essentially didn't create jazz fusion, but he furthered jazz fusion more than anybody else in the 70s and 80s. And he was my favorite jazz pianist of all time. And frankly, jazz musician, he might be one of my favorites, if not my favorite jazz musician. He passed away February 9th, and that was definitely a sad day, but we'll get to that. Now, something else. This is a remarkable way to start off 2021, but Daft Punk. I don't think I have to explain who Daft Punk is. You saw the intro if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're a fan of Daft Punk, well, you're probably sad. They parted ways February 22nd, 2021. So those are, well, 3 people from complete opposite ends of music. Chick Corea is a jazz pianist who also dove into classical, who dove into fusion, who dove into Latin, who dove into Spanish. Chick Corea really checked off every single thing there is to check off. Like, frankly, he did everything. And Daft Punk, single-handedly, every one of their albums is just a new thing. Like, compare their first album to freaking Random Access Memories. Like, wow, we got grunge, electro party, techno, to like, how would you even describe Random Access Memories? There's some laid back vocoder, dining room, Rhodes keyboard jams, you know. That's not the whole album, but some tracks are like that. It's insane. They both, in their respective areas, furthered their music, and they were both legends. And, well, they're both gone. Chick Corea passed away, which is different. Daft Punk, frankly, they were already like retired, so they kind of retired from retirement, because when was Random Access Memories? Like 9 years ago or something, you know. And they've done little projects since then. I know they've collaborated with some artists and stuff, but I don't really know anything about that. Oh, and new Teddy P post. This isn't related to either Chick Corea or Daft Punk, but if you look at the video before this video on my YouTube channel, you will see that there is a new video. And it's me playing on the salt flats with my Korg mini log, and it was just so beautiful because the video sets place during the sunset. I'm out on the salt flats, and if you're following my Instagram account Teddy P, and you saw the post, I kind of explained some context. Like, it was one of the last days of the year of 2020, and the last song is, I call it the Requiem, the end of Requiem for 2020, as my way of just saying, yeah, this is 2020 in a musical form, and it's now gone, frankly. That was just so surreal playing that. Just the time in the year, like 2020 was ending, the time in my life, the time just being out there on the sunset, playing with just this synth and making crazy ambient jams and arpeggios. It's wonderful. Now, that concert which I posted, I'm just going to call it concert, or that performance I posted on my YouTube channel, it's not the best playing I've ever done. It was completely improvised, of course. It was my best playing for sure. This is not an excuse for poor performance, but well, it is an excuse. It was incredibly cold, especially when the sun started to set. It got chilly. My hands, like, I couldn't really play the keys very well. I couldn't play it like a piano, so I had to heavily be focused on like the arpeggio and ambient stuff. I wasn't playing any Bach, and just frankly, I don't know what happened. I have a bunch of more videos planned from both the Salt Flats and Vivian Park, and when I was on a freaking railroad with my synth. It's great. I won't talk about it too much because we have more things to talk about. But yeah, I was just like, Salt Flats, go check it out if you feel intrigued. Now, what's new in music? First thing, today, soul. Today. What is today? Whoa. Sorry, Today is... Bro, I literally don't know the date. I don't know the date, guys. Okay, I don't freaking know. It's the day of the freaking Golden Globes or whatever. Soul won the best score at the 2021 Golden Globes. I haven't seen Soul, but I gave it a quick little listen. Dude, I loved it. The score, from what I heard, out of context without watching the movie. I loved it. First track, boom, killer jazz drums. Like, killer jazz drums. The freaking pianist, John Bassett. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his last name. I've listened to his album, Jazz Is Now. The way I figured out I started listening to that album, I was looking for On the Sunny Side of the Street clips, performances, things to listen to, and I found his version, and I was like, oh, this is different. This is kind of cool, kind of funky. Starts out with a marimba. Dun, 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 and now he's the piano player for this soundtrack that won the Golden Globes. But I don't have too much to say because I haven't seen the movie Soul, and I'm kind of saving that because I know I'm going to watch Soul, and then I'll give a little review on this podcast because I myself and someone that has been in the jazz public school education system or whatever for like 5 years, and I'm in outside programs, which like professional programs for kids, teenagers, just people under 18 essentially who want to and have to audition in professional jazz bands, whatever. So I'm like, in the system. So I just want to watch Soul because it's like, it's jazz. This is like what I do a lot of this, something I care about. But here we go. Here is some tea. In previous podcasts, I've talked about Olivia Rodriguez, her driver's license. and how it just broke and shattered Spotify records, just demolished Spotify records. There's new tea. I think either one episode or 2 episodes ago, I talked about all the other people involved in this tea. Joshua, Bassett, and then allegedly the blonde girl. I forgot what her real name is, but I talked to them, and there's just some new tea, and this isn't something I really care about, but I just want to continue the story. This isn't supposed to necessarily be a news music podcast, but hey, why not? Joshua Bassett, who is the guy who allegedly broke up with Olivia to date the freaking blonde girl. He's releasing his first EP March 12th, and there was a project titled We Both Know with the alleged blonde girl who was mentioned in Driver's License. This project got put on hold because, here's a direct quote from him. Joshua, I didn't want my EP to be overshadowed by some other narrative that people were trying to make. So basically, I think he got bored of the beef, and he's like, okay, yeah, I broke up with her, and I'm going to move on, and I made tons of money from my song Lie, 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 and now I'm over because I don't want to be associated with this drama anymore. That's the gist. That's kind of the vibe I get. New story. This one... This cracks me up. Let me set the scene. Germany. It's a radio station. And they decide to play a cover that BTS recently did. If you don't know who BTS... Everyone knows who BTS. Everyone knows BTS. They play BTS cover from Coldplay called Fix You. He plays it. And in the segment of the show, what I've heard through my research is that he states his opinion very clearly and openly, and that's kind of the point of the segment. Just, boom, here it is, which I respect that, and I love that. I hope that I get to do that here, and I definitely do say things pretty bluntly, but luckily I don't have a raging fan base, so I don't get canceled for it on Twitter. But, okay. So he plays it, and he hates it. He's like, this is disgusting. It's atrocious. He likened the pop stars, BTS, this is direct quote, to some crappy virus that hopefully there will be a vaccine for soon as well. Okay, maybe I shouldn't laugh because the BTS fans might get me. And we're going to stay on the subject for a bit longer. I think it's really funny. So he compares BTS to like the coronavirus. And let me set the scene. If you don't know this, BTS fans, they're called like the army or whatever. They are with peace and love, completely with peace and love. They are insane. If they single-handedly cancel people so fast and so impressively. It's remarkable. I don't know how they do it, but they are savage and they are triumphant in everything they do. So he instantly, boom, yeah, this is bad. Xenophobia, racism, all of that. Now, he has to defend himself, right? This guy, he's German. His name is too hard to pronounce, so I have to even write it down. But here's a direct quote of him defending himself. I have nothing against South Korea. Oh, this quote is so funny. Sorry. I have nothing against South Korea. You can't accuse me of xenophobia only because this boy band is from South Korea. That's outrageous. I have a car from South Korea. I have the coolest car around. So that was his defense, and that was, I think, probably one of the only quotes I got from him. So I thought that was really funny, and that's definitely not the greatest apology ever. But then, through my research, he did understand that why his remarks would offend some people, and well, that's a good segue into what people said because, wow, the Twitter warriors were mad. Here's a direct quote from one of them. I am horrified to read the comments made by, here's his name, Matthias Maschweg. It's like German, so it's like Sie Maschweg. That was so stupid. Why did I do that? I'm going to get canceled for saying someone's name wrong. Racism and xenophobia cannot be thinly veiled as on-air humor. Irresponsible and disgusting statements in a time where hate speech and violent behavior towards Asian communities are skyrocketing. I don't disagree with that. This is unacceptable. I hope a better apology to BTS and the Asian communities across the world is on its way. And through my research, I'm the best researcher in the entire West. Through my research, though, not to beat around the bush, the radio station also was freaking out, and they're like, releasing statements and being like, we talked to him, we apologize, and we are sorry, and this whole freaking shkabashko. If you're on YouTube, I'm going to put a photo up, and that's a quote from the station. Okay, I don't know why that took so long for me to do that, but yeah, so there's that. And I thought that was they worded that well, I thought. But it's just, people are just going to get mad at anything. There's always going to be someone on this planet that will find a way to cancel anybody for saying anything that they care about. But that's just how it is, and I feel like it's gotten worse over the years. It's gotten worse over the years because, well, the iPod got invented, the internet got invented. It's so easy to just read what people say, or like someone posts something on Twitter 10 years ago, and then freaking now, 10 years later, some random person screenshots it, puts it on their Twitter account, it blows up, and, it's them making some dumb joke about something that now in 2020 is like a little dodgy, and then they instantly get canceled. I find it kind of absurd. I'm not saying that, well, how can I word this? I'm not saying that joking around dodgy subjects is good per se. There's a line with everything, and there's also context with everything. In this radio show, this German dude has said he did not intend to be racist or xenophobic at all whatsoever. In this segment of the show, the point is that he states his opinion clearly, and his opinion was he didn't like Coldplay's BTS's cover of Coldplay's Fix You. Also, by the way, Coldplay called the cover beautiful, so if that adds anything to the story. But the fact of the matter is, that is his opinion. And now him comparing BTS to the coronavirus, that I could see why that's so dodgy, and especially, let's not get too politically here, but like Trump, the Chinese virus, like, come on, there's obviously in maybe the past year, the statements towards Asian Americans, Asian communities, just the gross statements and generalizations have of course risen, and I do understand why someone could be annoyed why he said that, but I don't know, at the same time, it's just like, it was just on-air humor, and he obviously was just over-exaggerating that, and that's like the point of the show. And this person's like, well, you can't cover up racism by comedy. Well, it's just not, it's not the same because he wasn't intentionally being racist. But that wraps up the segment about what's new in music. Pretty chill, I think. Besides Daft Punk and Chick Corea, which that's not in what's new in music because we're going to dive into Daft Punk specifically. But yeah, that's what's new in music. Short, sweet, concise, to the point. Not too much that I really cared about too much. But yeah, moving on. Daft Punk. I know I talked about this previously in the podcast. They're gone. Daft Punk has broken up. And I don't know how long I've been a fan of their music. I don't remember one point. Well, actually, no, let's go back. I do remember watching the movie Tron Legacy, the Disney one, and loving the music. I thought the music in that movie was so good. In the beginning of the movie, when I don't remember the kid's name, just the kid, the son of the dude, Flynn or whatever. He was on his motorcycle driving, maybe escaping like NCOM or driving to NCOM, and it's just like the arpeggios. I vividly remember that and being like, that sounds so cool as a kid. Maybe I was like 10. So that, frankly, is one of my first memories in general. No, first memories of specific music, like just inspirations, but entirely pure inspirations because I was like 10 years old. And so when I say pure inspirations, I mean like this was just like boom, to the soul. Why? I don't know, but it just hit me. That freaking soundtrack. And then I would just watch Tron Legacy to listen to the music because I loved it so much. And I didn't know what to call it. I remember my aunt always asked me, what music do you listen to growing up? And I didn't really listen to music. I was like an 8, 9, 10-year-old. I didn't put in my earbuds and listen to music really. But I knew I really liked Tron. I really liked Tron. And the freaking Kraftwerk album or song, Autobahn. That's a whole other story. If you don't know them, well, yeah, they're a musical group of synth dudes, essentially. But I really like Tron, and I think I just called it electric music. I was like, I like electric music. And my aunt was like, oh, check out Autobahn by these guys. And then I gave it a listen. Autobahn. And frankly, maybe that's changed me. I don't know. Because now, later in my life, unknowingly, I got crazy into synths. Just totally out of thin air. I've talked about this previously. My mom just got me the Korg Mini Log because I said, I want music things for my birthday. That's all I said. And she just went to a pawn shop and got me that, probably for pretty cheap. Freaking Korg Mini Log. And, who knew that I would invest so much money and time into synths and synth jams? Last summer, that was more synth jams than saxophone. Frankly, but yeah, that's my first memory of Daft Punk, and ever since then, I've just kind of loved them. So, yeah. Oh, they broke the news of their breakup. I didn't talk about this with an 8-minute video titled Epilogue. Here's some shots from Epilogue if you're listening to this on YouTube, and if you're not listening to this on YouTube, that sucks. some of the shots from the video epilogue, and wow, I don't know how many views it has, but I know it's top trending on YouTube forever, and holy cow. And I didn't actually know this. The clip is from their film. Daft Punk made a film. Clearly, I guess I'm not a real fan of Daft Punk, because I had no idea they've ever made an entire film, like 2-hour-long film. Electroma, which was released in 2006. That's the name of the film. I watched on YouTube, not all of it, but some parts. And wow, I really actually dig it. There's like no words. The music is not Daft Punk, but it's just it's the robots, and everyone in the movie wears the freaking Daft Punk robot hats, which is so cool and so cool looking. As a kid, I would have loved that. That was like my drawings. Every drawing I did is this character with a robot head and a suit. It's just yeah, but I freaking loved it. Here's some shots from Electroma. Boom. Okay, the shots are done. See, it just boom, these robots in these suits just in real life. I love it. And the movie, they just go on a journey to try and become human. And then in the end, yeah, blows up. And they use that in epilogue for their, unfortunately, for their official breakup. I'm not going to go through my favorite songs in each of their albums besides their first one, because just to kind of honor them. I don't know. I just made a list because I was listening to all of their albums in like honor of Daft Punk. But we're going to start with their camera. We're going to start with their Discovery album, which is one of my favorite, probably my favorite album of theirs. Aerodynamic. Boom. Right off, that freaking guitar solo. That's not a guitar, but like a guitar. Oh, that is so good sounding. And frankly, some of that stuff is like in one of my Time Cube tracks, just like these synth solos. Harder, better, faster, stronger. Everyone's heard it. Iconic. Superheroes. The arpeggio I love in Superheroes. I just wrote down some notes. Great song. This might be my favorite song they've ever made, and this song is what played in the intro if you watch this on YouTube. Virtus Quo. This song is just so good and so simplistic. Like, there's nothing crazy about this song, musically wise. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-dum. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-dum. Ba-dum, blum, bum. You know, whatever. It's just so simple, but it's so elegant. I'm not trying to sound like some artsy-fartsy Daft Punk fan right now, but I just love it so much. And I've been addicted to that song ever. One of my favorites of theirs. Short Circuit, also one of my favorites. I just really, really enjoy this album. Now, Human After All. Next album. The Prime Time of Your Life. Prime Time of Your Life. So good. That's another God tier one. Robot Rock. Robot Rock. Robot Rock. Boom, boom, boom. Bam, dunga, dung, ground, ground. Or that freaking lick. That's stuck in my head all the time. I love it so good. It sounds so good. And emotion. Here's their latest and, well, their last album, Random Access Memories. Gregorio by Marauder. I totally pronounced that wrong. Great tune. Touch. Motherboard. Contact. Contact is great. I love Contact. Album, their homework. And remember, these are just my favorites. The Funk. The Funk, so good. Fresh, Around the World, Indo Silver Club, and Alive. And boom, we got through that list. I've tried to kind of go fast because I know not everyone cares about that too much. But I gotta love Daft Punk. And I'm sad to see them go, but here's the thing. They won the game. Like Daft Punk won. These freaking just these two French dudes. They won. They single-handedly created like a whole aesthetic, essentially. They're just so iconic. This French dude, those masks, so good. Those masks, they're in Tron. And the freaking, just that one scene, and they put on the music, and like they're iconic, and it's incredible and inspiring to know that these people just made this community out of making this music and changing so much over the years. As I said previously, their first album and their last album, completely different, but I love them both. That's the thing. They're both good in what they do. Each album that they make. That they made. I really have to accept that they're not making any more albums. And they definitely furthered the electronic side of music. Especially like the house, the dance electronic music scene. Boom. Not EDM. I'm going to call it EDM. But they were just the freaking masters, that dude. The funk. But then being able to change so eloquently. Like, ugh. I'm not trying to be a sycophant or a brown noser, but I love them. Speaking of French duos, I've been listening, what have I been doing? I've been listening to a lot of Air recently. If you don't know who Air, yeah, another French duo that do electronic music. Frankly, their album, Electronic Performer, is that the name of their album, or is that the name of one of their songs in the album? Let me figure it out. I think it's the name of the album. Clearly, I'm not a true Air fan. Or clearly, I just have Alzheimer's. Maybe both. Stop, that's going to be copyrighted. Okay, sorry. 10,000 Hertz Legend. Electronic Performer is the first song in that album. This album is just mind-blowing, dude. I've been listening to this album for a while, on and off, for, probably since 8th grade. This is one of the first things I listened to from Air. The first thing I listened to was their first album, Sexy Boy. That's not the name of the album. It's like some French name, I think. But I've been listening to this on and off. And frankly, in the beginning, I thought it was kind of cringe. I thought some of the stuff they did was just why? This is just so... I used the word cringe very seriously. I thought it was cringe. Why was there guitar in this? Why was there this vocoder thing? But weird vocoder thing. I don't know how to explain it. Why was there all this stuff? And over time, it really hit me how much I love this album. I was just listening to it on and on this past week, every day in the freaking shower, and it is so good. And it is weird, and it's taken me clearly years to actually be oh wow, this is really good, and I truly appreciate it. And I don't really know what happened, but sometimes when I listen to music, it kind of clicks for me. I started to figure that out through me listening to jazz. Jazz is kind of crazy sometimes, and it takes multiple, an album, a jazz album, I gotta listen to that multiple times. I'm not saying the first time I don't enjoy it, but to truly grasp everything in it, you listen to it multiple times. like multiple times. In my opinion, if you want to get everything out of it, if you're not listening to it as background music, if you're listening to it and, kind of analytically, like, what did this player do? And obviously, I'm an aspiring, jazz musician or whatever I want to be when I grow up. Jazz is going to be a part of it. And it's always said like this, if you're in a sax lesson or something. Well, an architect has to get inspiration somehow. He has to look at other houses. That's some pretty direct inspiration. He has to look at the house plans. He has to look at what doors they use. He finds things he likes in that house and then figures out what they are so he can design them or design similar things in his house to make his plans better. Frankly, like stilling, but it's the same thing in jazz. You listen to stuff and then you just still it and like transpose it in all keys. Licks. Oh, that was a really cool solo. Let me just transcribe all of it. Easier said than done, but that's what you do in jazz. I don't know why I'm talking about this. Oh, because it clicked. And sometimes it really just clicks. Eric Dolphy, one time I was listening to one of his albums, which he's crazy dissonant. Like, it's hard to listen to still. And it kind of clicked for me on his album. One of his, like, not solo bass clarinet albums, but he's on bass clarinet. The album is the Illinois concert, so it was a concert he did, and God bless the child, so good. But I was listening to this album, and it kind of like clicked for me. It was kind of crazy. It was like, oh, this isn't weird screeching sounds. And this album, 10,000 Hertz Legend, dude, it totally clicked for me. I don't even know what happened, because I don't see it as cringe anymore. I respect the like decisions they made. And I've been doing research on Air, and I think this is probably considered one of their most experimental albums. I've heard that be described as experimental. I guess you can call it experimental, but frankly, I think there's experimental elements, but the entirety of the album itself is not experimental. It's pretty straightforward. They just add some things that aren't typically added. And I think that's what I respect most, because I'm big about just like fusing things together. Teddy P, that's a big thing on Teddy P. Synths and saxophone, those two things I happen to love. I try and combine them together. I love combining different musical elements together and see what happens, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But for this freaking album, it worked. Like the song Carmel Prisoner, it's so simple, but just you hear that first chord and it reminds you of like Twin Peaks, one of these low synth, just eloquent singing now, but I just freaking dig it. I dig it so much. So that's one of the albums I've been listening to. I know probably rambled on about that for a little bit too long, but I really love it. And I'm definitely starting to listen to Air a lot more now. I think I'm going to go listen to, just because there's some albums of theirs I haven't listened to at all, and I really just want to explore everything that they've done. It's funny that Daft Punk somehow kind of led me to get back into Air again. Daft Punk disappearing. And I don't really know how that happened, frankly, because I've always been listening to Air, but I'm in a big Air phase again. Some things I've done recently, if we're on the things I do segment of the show. And at this point, there's like 0 people watching. And I totally realize that. So that's like, if you made it this far, congratulations, but you are probably the only person that made it this far. But frankly, last podcast got 215 views. I don't know how the balls that happened, but I feel like I should be a bit more careful. The beginning of this podcast, that was a little rocky. Something happened before this that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. in like my life, and I can't deal with it right now because I am recording this podcast, so I think it kind of was distracting me, and I was just kind of clunky and not fast and whatnot. Which is annoying because the beginning of the podcast, the first minute of the podcast is the most important thing on this freaking planet. After that minute, 80% of your audience is like gone, dude. So that minute, you do every single thing to get these people to stay. And if you suck and mess up in that minute or are boring in that 1 minute, 99% of people are going to be gone. But weird side tangent. Today, I'm wearing these clothes because I want to. No, I'm not wearing dress clothes because I want to. Maybe like 3 hours ago, I recorded my solo piece for solo and ensemble. It's from this really, really cool etude book by Ben Solomon. I will link him in the description, and if you're on YouTube, go check him out. 'Cause he is just killer, and like, he's not like some crazy big jazz musician. No, he's not like famous or anything. But he just released his book. I got it Christmas time. You know, this is like the newest book ever. Like 3 months ago? And I recorded one of his pieces for solo and ensemble, and I worked on it for months. And, well, on and off for months. And then I had like 1 week to prepare it and get it up to speed, which is a rigorous week. Last week was insane. Lots of saxophone practice, and it isn't my most perfected best thing, and I for sure could have done better in my audition. I was very sloppy, and my air was just not enough at a lot of parts, I felt like, and my tonguing felt a little off for a lot of it. But I'm going to play it right now, and you can critique it for how you want, or you can skip this part if you're listening on Spotify. Well, then, yeah, you'll just hear it. Okay, so it played. So yeah, that was my piece. Boom. It's weird. It's funky. It's fast. And I slowed down halfway through. And you don't have to freaking comment that because I realized that. But I truly... That was just the take I used because I couldn't get another take that worked like as well as that. And that take, literally after the recording, I go like that. And then like 3 seconds after, you don't see this in the video. But I'm like, that was so sloppy. I'm like, we can use it, but that was sloppy. Because I kind of tell myself in the camera, like, okay, that was fine. Just so later when I'm looking for the take, I can be, get some notes. But that was it. Obviously, very, very, very classical, even though this was made in the modern era. Ben Solomon, he has notes for each etude in this book. I think there's like 13 etudes. This etude is titled Etude Number 3, but the point of this etude is he used classical arranging styles, like Baroque era arranging styles, and I think, as you heard, that was very apparent. And that might be maybe the easiest etude in the book, and this etude it's above my skill level for sure. What I'm used to. It is fast, and I played it way, way under tempo. I think the quarter note is like 1/16, and all the notes are 16 notes, so I'll freaking get my metronome so you can hear how fast that is. And I can play the first page of it at that speed, but just, you are only as fast as your slowest part, and the second page is just slow, so yeah. So every single note is And maybe that doesn't sound fast when it's being heard on a metronome. I sure hope it does sound fast, but imagine moving your fingers that fast, and dynamics and articulation, and yeah, it's a rigorous piece, and this book is rigorous, but I do recommend checking out this book. And I've never talked to this guy in my life, but I just really like every single etude in this book. And some are just these flowing like harp. They're called like harp pieces where it's like, but it's for saxophone. This one is for E flat alto saxophone, and it worked really well for E flat alto saxophone, like using C sharp, low C sharp, and then G sharp on the side, and it's like it just like flows and works really natural with the instrument. So yeah, that's something I did, and maybe I'll post that on TEDP. I probably will. It's not like I'm necessarily proud of it, but this video is going to be sent to a judge who hopefully won't be a snob, because I do realize it's kind of maybe a bit of a funky piece for solo and ensemble, which is a very classical, like, okay, you play violin and you're in a dress and you look very nice and you're accompanied by a piano. Like, I realize that's the aesthetic, and I maybe didn't match that as much, but that's kind of my style too. I'm not one to conform. I guess that sounds super cringe. Oh, I hated that. That sounds like I'm in 8th grade. Okay, but frankly, just I like to think I do my own thing, and whether I do or not, that's up for debate. Debate. But that about wraps up this podcast. So I've been so busy, and I know there hasn't been a ton of stuff in this podcast, this specific episode, but been so busy. And I'm recording this really late at night so I can just get it done, because I want to get one of these podcasts every other week. And wow, last week was insane. I got I got a festival, a jazz festival Tuesday. Right after that, I got a performance in one of my professional bands outside of school. And then Thursday, I have a concert. And then in both the concert and the festival, I play a solo. Both are very different. One's a Latin solo. One's a freaking like Buddy Rich big band. Like, so I got a lot of grinding to do. But I can't practice tonight. It's 10:53, so I have Monday. And then, yeah, let's hope. Wish me luck if you're listening to this. I'll of course update in 2 weeks. And I know I didn't talk about Chick Corea's passing. If you're noticing that, I am going to do either a full video or a full podcast dedicated to his works, because frankly, it for me, I feel like if John Coltrane was alive and he died, like, it feels like that. I cried a lot when Chick Corea passed away, so it's really important to me. So I'm going to dedicate a whole, not just a portion, like a whole show or a whole video to his passing and his music and his life. But I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Love you in a normal, loving way. Oh my gosh.